This episode of the Totally Rad Show is brought to you by Squarespace. Today on TRS, we go back to comics and take a look at the Green Lantern.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Totally Rad Show for this day, November 29th, Monday. We're really excited. Fun week, back from the holidays, as it were.
Yeah.
Today we are going to be talking about the Green Lantern comic. However, sprinkled in there is the Green Lantern movie trailer that just came out. It is Pan Lantern, which is amazing. Tomorrow, Tuesday, we're going to be talking about Global Agenda, the MMO-esque first-person shooter. We'll talk more about that on Tuesday.
And people seem to like 2 weeks ago when we were dancing around like
TPS.
morons playing Connect. So
Now
we're
actually
going to
gonna
do more
dance.
of that. Dance Central is going to get our butts in the groove.
Correct. Then on Thursday, we're back for more comics with the J. Michael Straczynski comic Earth 1, Superman Earth 1, sort of alt take
Lots
on
of comics this
Superman.
week.
Very fun.
And then on Friday, we dance around like monkeys again for you.
Yeah, baby.
Playing charades.
But this time for points and scores.
You guys all hopefully were there in the live stream giving us suggestions, and now you get to see it again.
Check out this cool comic book based background. We got 2 comic days this week, so we're
Correct.
going with a comic background sent in by Peter Papadopoulos. And I like it. I think it's very, very stylish.
Most definitely.
And cool.
Well, shall we get into it? Let's.
I think we shall. So we're talking about comics, and we're talking about one of the biggest characters in comics just in the last couple of years, and that's Green Lantern. And the reason that that character has had such a resurgence is that DC decided, and Jeff Johns decided, that Green Lantern really was an underrepresented character in their universe, and they decided to bring back Hal Jordan, the classic Green Lantern, and really put a lot of energy into building that mythos back up, building out his world. And they've had these huge events, DC-wide crossover events, called Blackest Night and Brightest Day, that have really made Green Lantern the center of attention in the DC universe for a large extent. So, of course, everybody knows Green Lantern is also being a big budget film. We got the trailer that just came out. We're all excited about seeing the Green Lantern movie, but I know that these two guys.
The trailer did just come out.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second. But I know you guys really hadn't had much exposure to that character at all before the movie came out. And I know at Comic-Con we had talked, and both of you guys were expressed interest in talking about more Green Lantern. So
Dan dove in.
rather than focusing on one specific story or trade or thing, we're going to talk about a few of them. And I think sort of, you know, our buddies over at iFanboy did a great episode a while back talking about if you want to get in on the Green Lantern, here's what you need to read. And we read most of those.
Yeah.
So Secret Identity, Rebirth, not in any particular order. Rebirth, of course, was the big return of Hal Jordan. And then Secret Identity, Wanted, and Secret
Fear.
Origin.
No Fear.
Oh, excuse me, No Fear, yes.
Secret Identity is a different
Secret
comic.
Identity.
A great comic book.
Right. Secret
Superman.
Origin, pardon me. So there's places you can go to read about what you should read, but these are all...
I have a recommendation. I have a poll list recommendation because I disagree with those iFanboy guys. We'll talk about that now.
Well, go ahead. These are all the Jeff Johns resurgent books. He wrote all of them, different artists on all the books. But basically, almost all of them tell a part of his origin story. They kind of rebuild that classic mythos of the fighter pilot whose dad is killed and is selected because of his lack of fear and his ultimate courage. You know, of course, the Green Lantern Corps is this intergalactic police force, and
Explain a little bit more how this works, because this is why I never read Green Lantern.
why? Because it felt very obtuse and comic
It's
booky.
nothing like any other superhero story. He's not really a superhero, and it's got it works in a certain way. It's intergalactic. There's
a lot of them.
And so how does it work? You're a normal human being and also a green ring.
Well, you're a normal, any race, any intergalactic race.
Species.
Right? And then a ring comes that's green.
Well, what happens is there's a standard bearer for the ring who is in charge of a sector of space. And when that person dies, that ring needs to have a new owner.
Right.
And a new person with the responsibility of governing that space. And that person is selected based on their attributes as a candidate. They have to be courageous and have no fear. And only a person of a certain fortitude can command the ring. And so the ring searches out and finds that person. And each person's genetic makeup and sort of psychological makeup determines what powers the ring has. So it's not set powers, it's manifestation of the way what you need, how you need to express your superhuman powers.
Right.
Interesting.
And just to articulate, really cool thing, when a lot of people die, the coolest thing that it's not really in these earlier books is when a million rings are like shooting out everywhere because everyone's dying.
So there's these guardians of the universe, that these ancient species that are super intelligent and indestructible, and they decided that they've had these different plans of how to protect the universe, and a few of them failed, and the one that's working pretty well is to have these Green Lantern Corps. They tried doing it without having any human or sentient interaction. They tried using robots, that didn't work out too well. They realized they needed to have some person in charge of this power. So basically, it's actually a lot like Iron Man in the sense that he has powers, and then the power level, he needs to recharge it every so often, and so he plugs it into his lantern. Anyway, so.
Okay.
Daniel.
Yes.
Now you dug into this character, we read a bunch of these books.
Right.
What did you think?
Okay, so yeah, I always felt very distanced from Green Lantern because, like I said, it's very unlike any other superhero. And when you open up the book and flip through the pages, you'll just see a lot of mishmash happening and weird-looking people and big words like Oa and Kilowog.
Well, that's a small word,
but weird words.
Yeah.
It's one of the smallest words you can have, actually. And so I was always very distant, but I jumped in on Secret Origin, which tells that origin story, which is most likely going to be what the movie is. And then read the others. And I must say, I love this character, I love this universe. Much like Harry Potter, I love it for its potential and what it should be, rather than oftentimes what it is.
Well, it's interesting to me that you say that, because you are a guy who traditionally needs it to be grounded in reality, doesn't like capes and cowls per se, doesn't like intergalactic kind of superheroes on a galactic scale.
Right.
So why is this accessible to you?
Because at its best, this is The Last Starfighter meets Men in Black. At its worst, it's all of those things. It's big battles with names of people that are just completely plot-driven, not character-driven. However, at its best, it's there in Secret Origin and in No Fear and in Wanted when he's got to break out of a Russian facility, and in No Fear it's got more of his stuff with him and his father-son stuff, living up to expectations. And there's a couple clever manifestations of the power. And I love some of the other aliens and the idea that there are all these different races that have to protect, and they all use their rings in different ways. Unfortunately, a lot of the series falls short of those manifestations of the power. They ultimately just become laser guns, just like in Harry Potter and those wands. Ultimately, they're just throwing a big thing. Sometimes it's cool when it's like, oh, he obviously has planes on the mind because he's falling, so he manifests a giant plane to go into there's cool, and he gets a hand to catch something and throw it back, as opposed to just shooting something.
Yeah.
Like sometimes there's clever back and forth of powers sometimes, and I love that.
My question to you is, would you recommend people reading the comic to get ready for the movie?
I think well, yes, unless you don't want to spoil the movie. I don't know, but yeah. Here's my quick recommendation. Secret Origin tells the origin story. No Fear, great character story. Wanted, great stuff. I say skip Rebirth. The Rebirth is the resurgence for the character inside the DC universe. As someone who does not read the DC universe and doesn't read other comics, none of it makes any sense. It's a lot of big things that are not meaningful to anyone who doesn't.
Alex, you did not have any experience with this character at all.
Nope.
So all new to you.
Yeah, and I'm a big capes and cowl guy.
You are. You love the intergalactic battling.
Yeah, and I love it. I mean, it was really fun, good stuff. I think I agree with Dan. Rebirth was the only book that felt really mired in this sort of past history. Characters coming in that clearly have had past experiences with the characters and not.
Well, it's a very convoluted history, and it's almost a magic trick what Jeff Johns was able to do.
To get rid of all that stuff.
Explain it all away and really rewrite the history,
Yeah.
explain why Hal Jordan became the Spectre,
Right.
why he turned evil for a while.
Yep. All that
Parallax,
stuff is there.
all that is.
And all that's there in Rebirth. So if you have experience with it, Rebirth is the one to kind of clear the palate, or cleanse the palate, as it were. But for me, I didn't really need that, quote unquote. I mean, I got through it and it's enjoyable. There's some cool stuff with like Black Hand and all that cool stuff. You know what I mean? But it's a really fun character. Just to touch real quick on the trailer, very worried about this movie. Now I know I say that about a lot of trailers, but there's all of the things that I feared in the announcement of this movie, all of the things that I feared in the sort of concept of the CG thing where
CG suit.
I talked about that early where I was like, dude, you get the rippinest, cuttest guy in Hollywood and you put computer suit on him? What? This is the guy that you put the Lycra suit on and it looks like it's CG. Why CG the suit?
Or add CG
You can make it
elements
glow,
to it.
right? You can make it glow.
Yeah.
But so now after seeing the trailer, I think this may be a crap movie. I really do.
Well, I think that's sort of
There's also
knee-jerk.
but Ryan Reynolds, the qualities he brings are the things I hate about Ryan Reynolds. Not about him as a person, but his acting.
I'm curious.
So I'm worried.
Your expectations, expectations of the movies change because you read the comic now?
No, because I saw more of the movie.
Well, but tell me about how you feel in regards to the story that you read in the comic. Do you see that as a film?
I could see that as a really great film. I think if done well and with the right person.
Do you want those aliens in there?
You've got to have them. I mean, you got to go.
There's a version of this that could just ignore.
Yeah, it could just be on your own. I mean, clearly it's not because
You're
there's
on your
shots of
own,
Ella on
yeah.
the thing. That could be brief things.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. There definitely could be. It's all on Earth, and he just has this powerful ring on Earth, and there's an origin story in space.
And you could get the
that's
one
it.
alien in the crashed plane
Right.
as his predecessor, and you could have hints of a galactic thing, but he doesn't have to have that.
Right.
Boy, there's a shot of Kilowog in the trailer,
Yeah.
and I love the idea of like he's in space and he's on the planet, and there's all these literally Last Starfighter. He shows up and there's all these weird aliens, and
Yeah.
you're like, what am I here for? And like that could be awesome. But I want to hear your thoughts on rereading these comics and.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jeff Johns is one of the. What he's able to do with these old characters, his sort of encyclopedic knowledge of their history and retrofitting that is pretty special stuff. My favorite of all these latest trades, especially revisiting them, is Rebirth. And I don't think it's just because it's the history lesson. I really feel like that last moment with Parallax is powerful. And I really recommend people that if they're getting excited about the movie, check out the comic because there's a whole history there that is really rich and interesting, and I think it will give you context when you see the movie. I'm thrilled about the movie and the comics. So.
Yeah. All right, everybody, remember to stick tuned to find out what happened today in Rad History. Daniel Trachtenberg, hit me up with a little bit of Squarespace.
Yes, we are brought to you by Squarespace, which is a place to make a website, a personal website. You can even import a website you've had, a blog or something you've had in the past. You can import that over. A buddy of mine's got his site on Squarespace. I've got one, and I went over to his house, or he came over to my house, and I said, oh, let me tweak your site because I feel like it could look better like this or that. And I literally go to his website, hit a button, and I'm in the back end of it, and we're effing around and tweaking things, and it's so easy for two idiots who have no idea how to make websites to make one.
F around in your buddy's back end.
Yeah!
Easy as pie.
Saw that coming.
So yeah, it's that great WYSIWYG editing system, as well as what else do they offer? 10% off your order, your lifetime of your order.
Yeah, lifetime of your website.
So if you head over to squarespace.com and enter the promo code TRS, you'll get that. And
Amazing, Tim.
Yeah.
Good. iPhone app, too. All right, people.
Send us backgrounds, fans@totallyradshow.com. We highly recommend you doing that.
Yeah, head over to jinx.com/TRS. I pointed at this. It is a Jinx shirt. I wear too many Jinx shirts.
you know what you could send also at the fans account is if you have a favorite day in Rad history that you know is going to be coming up on a show, send us a day in Rad history.
Yeah, why not? Movie guy.
This research team is not so
Research-ified?
deft.
Don't miss tomorrow's episode where we check out the game Global Agenda.
So today in Rad History, November 29th, in 1963, the Beatles released I Want to Hold Your Hand, and a bunch of nerds had their hands held.
And, only a mere, what, 50 years later,
They finally come to
it
iTunes.
comes to iTunes. So that's
Amazing.
That's all works out.
This is actually in the movie Across the Universe.
Yep.
They revamped this song, and it's my favorite. I love what they did with it. It's my favorite track in that movie, my favorite rendition.
Cool. History.
Beatles.